core values. Is it something that should just be focused on business, or is it something that you should incorporate in the bar and bat mitzvah planning for your family? Find out more. Listen to this episode.
And here they are, your hosts, Dylan Weisman and Mike Langsner.
All right, Dylan, we're back recording episode 154. I missed you last week. I did a whole episode without you.
I was going to ask you how it went. I haven't been able to go back and listen to it yet.
Of course you didn't watch it, because why would you?
Well, I mean, I missed you guys too. I went on a little vacation, but back better than ever. So
I actually enjoyed episode 153 with our friend Hector over at Total Entertainment. We talked about trends and things that are going on in the industry, and it's actually so interesting how the trend starts in New York City and then makes its way towards the rest of the country, and things that they're doing. We're only an hour and a half outside of the city, but we're not doing things the way they're doing it just yet. So pretty interesting.
So you're saying that we have now ourselves a future picture of what maybe next year or the year after might look like here in Jersey.
Exactly. And when you watch the podcast, you'll hear our little dig on Pennsylvania and Philadelphia, because we gave you guys 3 more years past the Jersey time. So anyway, let's get into this one, episode 154. I had this idea yesterday, just kind of like the light bulb went off. It was only a few weeks ago that we came up with new and revised core values for Explosive Entertainment, the governing principles of how we're going to take this company to the next level. And it had me thinking that bar and bat mitzvahs should also have core values and principles. So first off, would you want to define for the user what core values are?
I mean, it takes a lot of soul searching for the most part. The reason why Explosive went through the motions of figuring out our core values is because people change. We changed. The company evolved. And we wanted to build ourselves an identity. And we talk about like the theme of your mitzvah so often. But what is the mitzvah identity? What is your party's identity? And maybe that's laced inside the core values. So the core values could be simple words or phrases that help you make decisions on what's important and how you're going to go about approaching your next minute. By having really good, solid core values, both for yourself, your family, and your lifestyle, but maybe even further towards your mitzvah. Like a core value could help you make decisions on everything from your venue to who's invited. And I think that says a lot. And I don't think anyone's ever really thought about it, because a bar bat mitzvah is a standalone thing.
Yeah, I feel like you and I are onto something right now. I feel like we almost need to create a seminar that is like given at temples on how to go down the road of planning a bar or bat mitzvah. So let's just take that for a second and let's just brainstorm as if we're giving a seminar on this podcast. Like, what would we do? And I think the first thing I would do to a family is I would say, write down on a piece of paper, what are your values for this party? Is it, do you want to celebrate the accomplishments of your son or daughter? Is that the main point of this? Or is the main point of it to have an excuse to bring friends and family together? Is it, a charitable edge, because, there should be some sort of give back with bar and bat mitzvahs? Like, what's the purpose? What's the purpose? That's the biggest statement, I think. What's the purpose?
Well, by figuring that out, you can now put yourself in a position to only have the important things happen at your celebration. So often we have families who are putting themselves in positions where they're getting things they don't need, or they think they need it because their neighbor had it or whatever, and it's just not their style.
Yeah. So what do you think? Like, neither of us are at the age yet where our kids are becoming bar bat mitzvah, but what do you think the first thing is that a family does? Like, they get the date, and then what? Do they start thinking, I need a venue? Or do they start thinking, I have a theme? Or do they start thinking, we need to set a budget? Like, what is the first thing you think people do?
I think it varies family to family. I think a lot of families will start looking at venues right away. Those are typically the first steps. Maybe a planner. But I think that before that, you should have yourself a core values on your mitzvah celebration. So here's what I think might make sense. There are dozens of lists of just buzzwords, things like joy, charity, togetherness, like just little buzzwords that help describe the feelings that you get. And when you hyper-focus it down to what you want that day or the lead up for that celebration to be, you can start giving motion to your ideas, and that might bring you towards a venue. Here's my example, Mike. If joy is one of your core values that resonates well with you for your mitzvah party, your mitzvah celebration as a whole, then you should look at a venue that brings you joy. It's joyful to work with those vendors. It's joyful to be in that building. It doesn't provide a level of stress. It doesn't provide a level of discomfort.
Right.
It brings you joy.
Right. So if another core value is affordability, you have to define what that means. And it's hard to do at the very early stage, but what does affordability look like to you? And then where are you going to divvy up your budget? Is it towards the decor? Is it towards the swag? Is it towards the food and beverage? Like, some people, core values to them are to have the most outrageous food and make it a foodie experience. So I think that would be a core value to me. I'd be writing down how important is the food versus the budget,
Yeah. But here's my favorite part about this is if you can define I would say probably 3 or 4 great values that help describe your family and your kid and where they are at this point in their life, leaning towards their celebration. I think what you're going to be able to do is get only what's going to be right for your kid. And you're not going to put yourself in a position where you're booking something just because someone else has it. My favorite example of this is when you have a bar mitzvah boy who is not into dancing, their friends aren't into dancing, but the family doesn't really identify that as a value of his, the competition value. Maybe that's a value, right? Competition, or maybe it's collaboration. And they're forcing a dance party on this kid instead of really understanding the value of it. And look, I'm not saying that it's all 100% on the kid or all 100% on the parent, but what I am saying is that you need to lead with these values first so you don't put yourself in a position where your kid doesn't like the spotlight. Stop doing things that put him in the spotlight. You don't need the huge posters with his face on it, right?
So core values, is the party geared towards kids or is it geared towards family and friends? That's one thing. Is one of your core values to be different? Like you just want this to look and feel different than what becomes the norm.
Okay, so let's explore that one for a second. Be different. Okay, if that's a value of yours, if you look through an entire list of values and that's the one that really resonates for your kid, you then go through the booking processes of, you can now ask, hey, what can we do different? We're going to have a breakfast bar during dinner. That's different.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to have mismatched socks as the giveaway. That's different. My point here is that by identifying the value right then and there in the beginning stages, you're going to put yourself in an area where now only the important stuff is going to matter. And I think that's special.
I think what we need to do is create a blog about this topic. This will be the start of our seminar. We're going to create a blog. We're going to post that blog in the show notes for this podcast. And we're going to give some worksheets for people to think about. I really think that we're on something here.
I just think that getting back to the root of what this is, it's a celebration of family. It's a celebration of accomplishment. It's a celebration of religion. And we got to get back to basics.
Let's actually use the party that you did this past weekend.
Oh my goodness.
You said was one of the best bar bat mitzvahs that you've done in a long time. And when I asked you why, you said they were there for the right reasons. Yeah. They just wanted to celebrate and they didn't have all the fluff that we see and frankly that we sell and we profit off of. Let's be real. But what made this past weekend so great, rather than me saying in my words, why don't you say what made this weekend so great?
There wasn't anything at the celebration that was wasteful. They had only the stuff that mattered to their kids. And talk about a challenge. This was a B'nai Mitzvah for 2 different ages. I had an 8th grade group and a 6th grade group. So if I were to really think about it, if collaboration was one of their values, they nailed it because they brought to life a run of show, enhancements, and an entertainment team that encourages that.
Yeah.
Between the 6th graders and the 8th graders coming together, between the camp friends and the school friends coming together. How about kids and adults? We found ways to make that resonate, whether it's through dance sets or whether it's through group photos. I mean, I ran 2 Coke Pepsi games. Like, how does that resonate and helps you make a decision?
Right.
It felt different. It felt like those kids understood the value of our bar and bat mitzvah family, and they encouraged it, embraced it, and executed it. So, in my experience, the core values, and when you nail it right, not only is it the governing body of decision making, but it's really acting as your North Star. It's giving you a direction to head with focus and precision. And for that reason, it becomes so important. And I believe that families do this well without even realizing it. But imagine if they put more focus into nailing down their core values. You got something to work with. So let me give you a couple ideas of some core values. You can value family, you can value joy, you can value spirituality, creativity, authenticity. All of that, if it matters to your family and that's one of your core values, check it off and make sure that every decision you make from then on out at least abides by, are we satisfying my value of family?
You know, I'm going to add one thing to this. I believe that if core values are established up front and agreed upon by the parents, the guest of honor, maybe the siblings, the grandparents, if everybody that has their hand involved in this agree on it, then it saves the potential of problems arising in the future. Because you and I see it all the time where husband and wife don't always agree. The wife wants to spend money on A, B, and C, and the husband doesn't get it. Or the husband values other things. Or the kid has a high valuation to certain services that they want, and there's headbutting. And that doesn't need to happen. And I bet a well-established core value list up front would help you, as you said, find the North Star and define what's right and wrong.
Perfect. Perfect way to think about it.
I like it. So I think we could keep this as a short podcast. There's so much content that we're going to put into blogs and worksheets on this because I truly think we're on something. But planning with a purpose is really the main goal of this TED Talk today.
Yeah, I like it, Mike. Episode 154, Mastering Mitzvahs. That's Mike. I'm Dylan. We're Explosive Entertainment. You can check out all things explosive at XE Events or XEEvents.com.